Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to a Star Wars speculation video. And I say it like that because this kind of content is not typical for my channel, but I'm just at the end of my sort of break that I've been taking and trying to get back into video creation. And I thought it'd be fun for a bit of a lighter video, one that's a bit more ranty, and I kind of like talking to you guys on a bit of a more informal level sometimes. Still, I want to present everything in today's video as a theory, and sort of a harebrained one as well. There's not necessarily a whole lot of fact to back up what I'm saying, but I think speculation is fun as long as you do it responsibly. Anyway, before we go into my theory, we have to talk about Matt Smith, the man who is in and not in Star Wars simultaneously. So in August of 2018, Variety reported that Matt Smith, former Doctor Who actor, would be appearing in Star Wars Episode 9. Now, Variety, at least from my understanding, is a very reliable publication, and they post a lot of Star Wars news, usually officially, but since that article came out, not only has there been no confirmation from Disney or Lucasfilm that Matt Smith will be in Episode 9, but he's also outright said that he will not be. Now, if that's where things would have ended, I would have just assumed that the man's not in Episode 9. However, after the release of the official trailer, the UK version of Disney.com posted a cast list which included his name, and to me, that's as close as definitive as it comes. Not only that, but it tells me that Matt Smith has a role that they're trying to hide from us, one that would be a bit spoilery or that would be more fun to see first in the theaters. Now, everyone assumed that he would play a young Palpatine, and I kind of get that, but first of all, I don't really see the facial similarities, and more importantly, I think Palpatine is a very, very simple character. He's basically always described as pure evil. There's not a lot of nuance to him, and that's completely fine. He's scheming, he's manipulative, and I just don't see any event before The Phantom Menace, and quite significantly before The Phantom Menace, that would warrant a flashback in The Rise of Skywalker. Snoke, on the other hand, does deserve some more screen time. I'll get to that in a second, but first I just want to talk about appearances. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of Snoke's face. We got more than enough of that before Episode 7 came out, and although technically I think I deserve to make some videos like that because I wasn't around then, I will just say that personally, I see some similarities. They both have long faces, they're both sort of lanky and tall, and I don't know, I just see it. But the question is why? Why would Snoke possibly be included? Well, after Episode 8, a lot of people thought that it was sort of strange that a character who was held up to be very important was almost discarded, just thrown away, no backstory befitting of a character of such importance. And I think that led a lot of us, especially after the Episode 9 trailer, to not realize but suspect that maybe Snoke wasn't that important after all. Personally, I think it very, very unlikely that Palpatine comes back in a physical body, but it's possible that he's been directly influencing people. So this is my completely made up story, which I have been thinking about for a while. We know that Palpatine's contingency and Operation Cinder wanted the Empire destroyed and perhaps reborn after his death. I've always thought that this was a bit weird, because for one, Palpatine didn't think dying was really a possibility. He was all about eternal life, and he was very egotistical. So if he did die, I don't think he would care what happened to the Empire afterwards. I think he would be more concerned about preserving his life. I think that the founding of the First Order and the transformation of the Empire into the First Order was not a mistake. Nor do I think it was a mistake that Snoke emerges from somewhere in the unknown regions to guide the decaying Empire, which had retreated outside of the known galaxy. And basically Snoke has all these plans, he's got these production facilities, or he's helped secure these production facilities, and he has all of this wealth. We also know that Palpatine identified something in the unknown regions or beyond in the Aftermath trilogy, and he made research stations, observatories, and recruited people like Grand Admiral Thrawn to help him navigate the territory and find what was out there. Conversely, we know that Snoke took some interest in Palpatine or Vader. He had a rock from under Vader's castle. So I think it's possible that the two, before Palpatine's death, may have somehow met. That explains his force powers, it explains his willingness to die and his injuries, which I'll get to in just a second, and it explains why Snoke was thrown away so easily. He was literally just a temporary vessel or a puppet, or at least servant of Palpatine, who now has his sights set most likely on Kylo Ren. I always thought that Snoke was goading Kylo to cut him in half. It's not a coincidence, I don't think, that he's basically saying the most ironic thing as he's about to be cut in half. Regarding his injuries, I think anyone who's being influenced that heavily by the dark side will see a degree of physical degradation. I also know this is a point of contention, but the best example I can think of is when Palpatine is shocking Mace Windu and the energy is being reflected back at him. I never assumed that his face was melting off or anything like that. To me, what made more sense is the mask was melting off and his true face was beneath. We see the same thing with the eyes changing, and just generally I think the dark side has corrupting effects. So to tie this all together, I think episode 9 could have a flashback with Matt Smith playing a young Snoke, basically to show what happened to he's not a Sith Lord, but the dark side user, and to set up the ultimate point that the real threat here is Kylo now being taken by Snoke. Interestingly, this sort of theft of a being is something explored throughout the new expanded universe. We know that there were dark forces sort of probing Kylo from a very young age, perhaps even while he was in the womb. I can't remember the details, to be honest. But between that, the transformation of Anakin into Darth Vader, the birth of Anakin himself, and more, we know that Palpatine is sort of a leech, feeding off of and using people to further his own goals. One theory that I've read is that perhaps Palpatine is communicating to Kylo through his mask. We know that Kylo's thought that he's communicated with Vader, but it seems odd that a redeemed Jedi would push his grandson towards the dark side. The new EU has also given us characters like Momin, Darksiders who can attach themselves to physical objects. Perhaps that's what Palpatine's done. Regardless, that's fairly off from where I started, my theory that Matt Smith may be playing a young Snoke, but I'm curious, is my theory completely ludicrous? Yes. Could it be right? I don't know. That's up to you. Remember, this is baseless speculation. This isn't something that's going to be common on my channel, but I thought I'd make a fun video for today. Anyway guys, until next time, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.